You guys know who I am. You know why we're here. Let's go ahead and get it going.
Late. They try to. I think a lot of women get in these situations. They get pregnant, and they like really. I think why a lot of breakups happens is that they really put a lot of emphasis on marriage because they know, like, I need to be married. I need to be married. We need to get married. So the pressure is on, and then they realize that man is not nowhere near ready to marry or get married. His whole plan just changed up. Oh, I thought you said we were gonna get married last year. And then now it's like, oh, I said 5 years from now. Like it's like the goalpost is just moving, moving, moving. So that is correct. It's like men will switch up on you. And that's why it is important to have marriage as a requirement. But I
But
think
you
a
know
lot of
what?
women. Mhm.
A lot of times, I don't even think these conversations are taking place when they should be taking place. I think that there's an assumption that you guys are moving in the same direction and nobody's willing to have the talk and you're just not speaking up.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets lost. So you think he's moving towards the same thing you're moving towards, and it ends up he's just going along
I,
for the ride.
I disagree.
Oh, she disagrees. Let's see where this is going
I
real quick.
disagree. I think that women are having those conversations, whether it's uncomfortable or not. I think because women are not taught the
But
game,
when? But when are
but
they having
no,
Thank
because
conversations?
you.
I think especially with this younger generation, they are way more upfront than the way that we grew up, right?
Okay. No, I'm going to disagree with that wholeheartedly. Number one reason is because the numbers don't lie. Single motherhood is on the rise. Marriages are going down. So that automatically eliminates that theory that she has. That doesn't make sense. I generation today, the younger generation, yes, they are upfront about talking about certain things. Family planning is not one of them. It's not. No. But as far as what B. Taylor was talking about, yeah, that can happen. That is a possibility. I mean, if you choose a guy who, if you marriage is your goal, and then you have no, and there's no man around to vet your potential husband, that can 100% happen. It can, and it's a big, it's a risk of getting into a relationship with a guy. Men are not to be judged by what they talk about, but by their actions. But yeah, let's keep going.
Right? But I think women are having these conversations, but I think because women were never taught the game the way that they should have been, that you can't tell when that man's being inconsistent. You can't tell when this man is giving you a valid reason
His behavior.
versus an excuse to push the goalpost. Like women's ability to discern because they don't have the game. I need to get my money up. I need to be in a position where I can give you the wedding that you're looking for. I need to buy the home that we're going to live in. I don't know how many women have heard these excuses and then turn around and that man in 6 months into his next relationship is already has those things in line. Women don't know how to discern what is real and what is game.
Yeah, and you're not going to learn. That's why fathers are so important. Because it's not important. That stuff is not important to women because that's why they don't learn it because it's not important to them. But for your father, oh, it 100% is because the you're supposed to be under your father's protection, and he passes you on to your husband. That's who's in charge of your protection at that point. So your father has a vested interest in making sure that you're picking the right guy. The other thing is that men, we are not, because there is no attraction to your potential husband. Like he can't talk his way out of it. No, he can't. If it is, that's some super high level of game that at that point, at that point, the woman does not bear any responsibility. It's because that responsibility then falls on the father. It's my father. If I'm the father, it's my job to vet the potential husband for my daughter. If I don't do a good job of it, then that's on me. And again, it falls back on me because then I'm now responsible for taking care of her again. I'm responsible for her protection again. So yeah, but the way this is Inez talks is like she's trying to incite the gender war. In other words, she's trying to put all the blame on the men, and the men need to look bad. You know what? Let's keep going. Let's see if anybody else picks up on that. Because I'd be interested because she has very much one sided. It's a one sided conversation that she's having. You know, when women play the victim role. I'd be interested to see if she says the other part of it and holds the women accountable.
Coming from men because they were never taught.
Well, I think that's why men had to vet out the men that would approach the suitors that would approach their daughter. I definitely wish that my dad chose the men that I needed to date. I wish, like, if I can go back, I'm like, dang, like I choose whoever, because I'm not a good decision maker, and I'll stand on that. I don't think, and it shows. A lot of women are not good decision makers when it comes down to love, and the stats show a lot of women that.
I have a question. If you have a standard, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mobile.
That time though, do you really think that like you would be okay in this day and age, in this modern world of social media? You think at that age you would have been okay with your father choosing your partner? I mean, if you were raised up in a household where that was the standard that was set, then probably, right? But we know that as teenagers, we're little shits. We rebel against what's right, you know? So, like,
she literally answered her own statement. Raise your kids in that kind of household, and you don't have to worry about that. But the other thing that she just brought to light is, again, I love these conversations, is that who has more influence on your kids in your household, social media or you? Uh-oh.
That was like my first question. And the other thing I wanted to say, I'm sorry, to Inas's comment about teaching young girls the game. So I was thinking, like, when you first said it, I was like, you know, that's right. But I don't feel like even that's the answer, right? Because I feel like young men being taught the game is problematic. I feel like the game that they're taught is problematic to us in general. Like, unless I feel like what's necessary is for us to be taught our value, like as women, to be taught what we need to be held responsible for, what we need to hold ourselves responsible for.
She is 100% right. You know, women do need to be taught their value. I'll be interested to see if she mentions where that value is going to come from. Now, if she does, what she should be saying is that what do men value in wives? That's ultimately where the woman's value comes from. So, again, if you want to be married, you know, then you need to figure out what men want from a wife. So let's see if she actually brings that up, because I do agree that teaching women what their value is, the sooner the better, because ultimately, well, let's just keep going.
How to, like, you can't trust them with your heart, don't trust them with your womb. Like, if you're not planning to have.
That's terrible. That's terrible advice. That's terrible advice. Please, somebody say something.
Well, you can't see a future or a baby with this man. Don't have sex with him.
Well, at that age, you can see yourself like anybody that you like that you swear you're going to marry at that certain age. But what I was going to say is, pose the question of, do you really need to know the game if you have standards? So if you have specific standards, it doesn't matter what game anybody's coming with, girl or guy. If my standard is, you know, I'll date, but after, you know, a year of dating, then we need to move forward with engagement, you know, in marriage or what have you. So if I have that standard set, it doesn't matter what he's saying, right? At this point, I'm only looking at what he's doing. And if what he's doing is in alignment with what my standard is, we move forward. But once I hit that year mark and I'm like, oh, we're not seeing an engagement, then it's time for me to skedaddle. In that time period, I'm making sure I'm on my birth control. I'm taking all of the precautionary measures to ensure that during this time, I don't end up pregnant. So I think that's what we need to be teaching is the standards. And not to say you don't give them the game. I'm not saying that you just dismiss that. But
the
I think
minute
the priority
you
is
see a
the
game being played, run. You can't
but
win this
so
game. You can't.
here's my thing with that, right?
Okay.
Is
Can I
like
speak after her?
yeah, absolutely. So here's my thing with that is that it's not either or. You can't just be taught the game and not be taught standards, and you
I agree with Miss Taken. That's why I ain't say nothing. Yeah, she said everything I would have said.
can't just be taught standards without being taught the game. But the thing that I'm seeing is that women now have standards.
I must have heard that wrong. Let me go back. I had to hear that wrong.
Without being taught the game. But the thing that I'm seeing is that women now have standards, right? Like we talk about the 666 online all the time, right? You got to be 6 feet, you got to be making six figures, he's got to have this kind of character, you got to be.
And ain't no marriage in that.
No, but I get it, right? But here's the thing: is
Exactly.
having the
There's
standard.
no marriage
Here's
in
where
that.
it becomes problematic and not knowing the game. Having marriage is the standard, and not to say that marriage should not be a standard. Having marriage is the sole standard without understanding the game. Marriage doesn't actually mean anything if there's no real commitment behind signing that contract, right?
Okay, this she is just babbling and saying stuff, and it's not making sense. It's. Oh my god. Oh my god. There's a difference between having standards and just being flat out unrealistic. If you're a woman, you out here looking for the 666, stop trying. Just stop. That's not real. It's not. You're not gonna marry that guy. He's gonna have a whole lot of sex with you and then move on to somebody else. So if you want marriage, you need to have realistic goals. You need to do a realistic self-evaluation of yourself. That's okay. We're not gonna get into that, but no, that's you have unrealistic standards. That's what happens to a lot of women today. They have these unrealistic standards, and then they age out of the sexual marketplace, and then trying to figure out what happened, and they end up inciting the gender war. It's like, oh, it's all men. It's all men's fault. No accountability for your actions or what you portrayed in your own life. Well, we got to move on.
You are just marrying somebody who's still running game. And so if you don't have the two things in tandem, the divorce rates don't go down. The marriage rates go up, but the divorce rates stay the same. Like you can't just be marrying anybody to be marrying anybody. You have to know the game. You have to understand how to read this person, how to know their character. But
Now I need to know.
Right.
Yeah, because she used that term like she just Lady Mogulette is asking what is game. I'm starting to question that too, even though I saw it in the last video. Because Inez is using context, and she's changing the context of the way she uses the word. It's almost like she's just trying to string together random phrases to sound intelligent. I hate to put it like that, but that's what it's starting to look like. Because what she's saying doesn't make sense. It doesn't add to what Miss Taken was just talking about. Think about when we go back to what Miss Taken was talking about. She is making real world examples, giving real world advice about what you can do in these situations. And Inez just comes back and says, well, the game, and you have to know it. And what are you talking about? Seriously. What is she talking about? And also notice that you know what? Maybe I'm wrong and I'm reading too much into this. I'm open to that possibility. I have yet to hear her say anything positive about men. Am I tripping? Is that what's going on here? Is that why I feel like the gender war is just about to break out any minute in this conversation? So we've heard B. Taylor, we've heard Miss Taken, but with this woman, she hasn't said anything positive about the men, except that they're going to try and screw you over. They're going to try and run game on you. And you need to be taught it so you can be ready for when they try and screw you over.
I need to
The
know.
game. Yeah, absolutely. It's faking the funk, pretending to be somebody you are not. And even when that is crumbling, still finding ways to.
But when the question is, why is she still referencing it when we've already gone over what the possible solutions for that are? Why is she still talking about men running something on you? We already talked about the solution. She's just bringing up the problem again. Again, you got to be careful of women like this who like to incite the gender war. Oh, and by the way, when I say that, I mean you want to blame the other gender for your problems. Men do that too. It's just that we're on the panel. We're watching the panel for the women here. That's the only thing. But yeah, be careful of women like that, because it's hard. It's hard. Okay, let's go.
Manipulate, gaslight, push the goalpost in order to maintain this relationship until you decide it doesn't work for you anymore. That is the game.
There is no way women are falling for this for real.
But a lot of women, a lot of women are also faking it. Can we talk about how many women are actually faking their
Absolutely.
femininity?
Absolutely.
There we go.
That they're a
Being
white.
That's
happily
why
married,
you run
yeah.
from the game. The game suits
Right,
no
Chanel.
one. No
It
woman,
doesn't.
no man. What Miss Taken
Right.
said was right on the nose. You have your standards. If he keeps falling below that, you leave. No,
I disagree with that. No, the one
Yeah, look. I'm glad. Again, prime example of women holding women accountable. She came in with this stuff about she's just talking nonsense, and they held her accountable for it. It's like, no, you're not just going to sit here and blame the men for this stuff, because women fake this stuff too. Exactly. And I like what Chanel said, is that no one benefits from this fake stuff. Figure out if the person is being genuine. If they are, great. Move forward. Let your father or the older male vet them to find out how real they are. If they're being real, then great. You guys can move on down the road and be happy. But if they're not, why are you even getting married to them? Stop looking to blame somebody for your problems. Well, I hadn't learned the game. Okay, well, you were never supposed to. That's what other men are for. It's almost like she's trying to take out. Look, as fathers, we look forward to vetting the men that are going to be with our daughters. We look forward to that. So, and even if I teach my daughters the game, like if I educate her on that stuff, she's still not going to be as good at it as I am. Why? Because I'm already a man. I know how boys think. She can't get that because because you can't understand the male experience better than a man can. So this whole notion about, well, we got to learn the game and all this other stuff. Look, focus on becoming a better woman. That's what young girls need to focus on. Focus on becoming a wife for the man that you want. If I can figure out what he wants from a wife, that's what you need to focus on. This whole thing about, well, yeah. Let your protector worry about that. Your father, your uncle, your older brothers. You have conversations with them over time. The more conversations with them you'll have, the more you're going to learn about it. But you're never going to be as good as vetting a guy as they are. It's just what it is. It's the same thing with men. We need to be we have an untapped resource in our family. Guys, if you're unsure of if a woman is being genuine with you, if you can't see past her physical appearance, bring her around your mom or your older sister, or your auntie. Yeah, because feminine charms don't work on them. So they don't see a physical relationship with this woman. They'll tell you about it real quick. Yeah. So look, guys, Lapeef JR is a channel. Go check it out. They're having high level conversations most of the time. But yeah, I'm gonna stay ghost till the next time. Peace. Thanks for making it to the end of this video. But do me another favor, like and subscribe, but also check out these here. Either subscribe or watch videos, one or the other. I don't know which side, but hey, all right.